Emily Carter unfolded the crisp, parchment-like paper, her brow furrowing as she'd read the lawyer's words. Great-Aunt Margaret, a distant figure shrouded in whispers and forgotten tales, had passed away, leaving Emily her sole heir. The inheritance, a sprawling mansion known as Hollow Hill, perched atop a windswept moor in the remote English countryside. A sense of foreboding settled upon Emily's heart, a premonition of shadows lurking beneath the surface of this unexpected gift. The journey to Hollow Hill was a blur of desolate landscapes and oppressive silence. The old manor loomed into view, a Gothic silhouette against the storm-gathering sky. Its stone facade was weathered, windows like vacant eyes staring out blindly. As the lawyer led her through the creaking oak door, the air grew heavy, thick with the perfume of decay and the weight of forgotten memories. Once alone, Emily wandered through echoing chambers, her footsteps muffled by dust-laden rugs. Cobwebs clung to ornate furniture, and portraits of stern-faced ancestors stared down accusingly from the walls. The air was stagnant, heavy with the scent of damp earth, and something indefinably unsettling. Each room seemed to whisper of bygone eras, their secrets locked away in the very fabric of the house. Nightfall crept in like a shroud, enveloping Hollow Hill in an impenetrable darkness. As Emily stood at the foot of the grand staircase, her hand resting on the cold, smooth banister, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following her every move. A sudden gust of wind howled through the eaves, and somewhere deep within the bowels of the house, a floorboard groaned in protest. Days turned into nights, each one colder and more unnerving than the last. Emily found herself drawn to the house's library, a cavernous room lined with towering bookshelves. It was here she discovered diaries, yellowed with age, chronicling the lives and loves of Hollow Hill's previous occupants. Among them she found a small, leather-bound journal, its pages filled with hurried, spidery handwriting. It belonged to her great-aunt Margaret. Margaret's words painted a picture of a woman tormented, haunted by something she refused to name. She wrote of shadows moving in the periphery of her vision, voices whispering her name when no one was near. Emily shivered, her own experiences mirroring the chilling accounts in the diary. Was this simply coincidence, or was there something darker at play within these walls? One afternoon, while exploring the house's dusty attic, Emily stumbled upon a room hidden behind a tapestry. The air within was ice cold, and a musty odor clung to the heavy velvet curtains that shrouded the only window. In the center of the room stood a massive, ornately carved mirror, its silver tarnished and its surface clouded with age. Drawn to it, Emily reached out a hesitant hand, her fingers tracing the intricate designs etched into the frame. As her fingers danced over the cold glass, she felt a faint tingling sensation, a surge of energy that seemed to emanate from the mirror itself. Suddenly the air grew still, the oppressive silence broken only by the frantic pounding of her own heart. Emily stepped back, her gaze fixed on the mirror, a sense of dread coiling in the pit of her stomach. From that moment on, the mirror became a constant presence in Emily's mind. She found herself returning to the attic room, drawn by a force she couldn't explain. Each time she stood before the mirror, she noticed new details she hadn't seen before. Strange symbols etched into the tarnished silver, symbols that seemed to writhe and shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. Sleep offered no escape from the growing unease that had taken root in Emily's soul. Her dreams were plagued by visions of shadowy figures and echoing whispers. She would wake in the dead of night, her heart racing, the feeling of unseen eyes upon her stronger than ever. The line between dreams and reality began to blur, the house itself seeming to close in around her, suffocating her with its oppressive atmosphere. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in hues of purple and blood orange, Emily heard a noise coming from the far end of the house. It was a soft sound, like the muffled sobs of a child. Curiosity overriding her fear, she followed the sound, her footsteps echoing through the silent halls. The sound led her to a room she hadn't yet explored, the nursery. The nursery door creaked open as if beckoning her inside. The air within was frigid, sending a shiver down Emily's spine. A rocking horse stood frozen mid-gallop in the center of the room, its chipped paint and faded colors whispering of long-forgotten laughter. A crib with peeling paint stood against one wall, its empty interior seeming to radiate a profound sadness. Emily stepped cautiously into the room, her eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering in through the dusty window. Dust motes danced in the air, swirling like tiny spectres disturbed from their slumber. As she moved deeper into the nursery, she noticed a doll lying discarded on the floor, its porcelain face cracked, a malevolent grin etched upon its painted lips. The air grew colder, and Emily felt a presence in the room with her, something unseen yet undeniably there. The rocking horse creaked rhythmically, though no breeze disturbed the stillness of the air. The faint scent of lavender reached her nostrils, mingled with the musty odor of decay that permeated the entire house. Turning her attention to the crib, Emily noticed something tucked beneath the faded yellow blanket. It was a small, leather-bound book, its cover devoid of any markings. Her fingers trembled as she reached out to pick it up, a sense of foreboding washing over her. The book felt strangely warm to the touch, as if it held the faintest flicker of life within its aged pages. As Emily opened the book, a gust of wind slammed the nursery door shut, plunging the room into darkness. She gasped, her heart pounding in her chest. The rocking horse clattered violently against the floor, its wooden hooves beating a frantic tattoo against the silence. Panic welled up inside her, threatening to consume her. Fumbling for the door, Emily stumbled back, her hand connecting with something cold and smooth, the mirror. She had inadvertently backed into the attic room, the book still clutched tightly in her hand. The air in the attic felt charged with an unseen energy, a palpable tension that made it difficult to breathe. As Emily's eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed that the mirror's surface was no longer clouded and dull. It now shone with an unnatural luminescence, as if lit from within. And within its depths she saw a reflection, but it wasn't her own. The figure in the mirror was a young woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and desperation. The woman in the mirror reached out a hand, her fingers pressing against the glass as if trying to break free. Emily stumbled back, her breath catching in her throat. The woman's lips moved, forming words that Emily couldn't quite hear. It was as if she were trying to warn her, to tell her something of vital importance. Suddenly the air crackled with static electricity, and the mirror's surface rippled like a disturbed pond. The woman's reflection wavered, her features distorting into a grotesque mask of terror. A blood-curdling scream tore through the silence, echoing through the house like a physical force. Emily clapped her hands over her ears, her eyes squeezed shut against the horrifying image in the mirror. The scream seemed to go on forever, reverberating through her very bones. When it finally faded, replaced by an eerie silence, Emily slowly opened her eyes. The mirror was once again dull and lifeless, the woman's reflection gone. Shaking and breathless, Emily stumbled back from the mirror, her gaze darting around the room as if expecting something to reach out from the shadows and drag her into the darkness. But the attic was silent, the only sound the hammering of her own heart in her ears. She clutched the leather-bound book to her chest, its warmth a small comfort in the cold, oppressive atmosphere. As Emily made her way downstairs, her mind raced to make sense of what she had just witnessed. Who was the woman in the mirror, and what was her connection to this house? And what was the significance of the book she now held in her hands? She had a feeling the answers lay hidden somewhere within Hollow Hill's shadows, waiting to be unearthed. That night, sleep eluded Emily. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind against the window panes sent shivers down her spine. She lay awake in the darkness, listening to the house settle around her, its ancient timbers groaning under the weight of their shared history. And then she heard it again, the soft, muffled sobs of a child coming from the direction of the nursery.